Okay.
It's a beautiful song, Mase.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. So my name is Mase Chang, and I'm here with Mark Hitchcox. Uh, Mark, I met Mark and he was playing Mbira at a cafe, and it was amazing. And took some videos of it, took some photos, and then we kind of followed up after that and just kind of kept the discussion going. So it's very exciting that I'm able to share that relationship with music and doing events and drumming and the whole show and all of the music and everything. It's very I'm very grateful, to see how things have grown into it. And I'm excited for more because we've been similar to what you heard, we've been working on some very amazing stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mase. It's been a great connection for me too. Uh, and it's exciting to see where it could go.
Lots of places. Okay. Well, today we're in the studio. Yeah, and we had music sounds. I think that's the right place, somewhere on North High Street. And we were working on this music that you just heard. And how was that experience for you in the studio recording that? This is the second time we've gone to the studio to record music. So what was it? What was it your first time that we recorded music together, and what was it like now? And just to give a before I get into it, today is my birthday.
Happy birthday, Mase.
Thank you. So we're celebrating the birthday. You get the point. We're making music, which I'm excited about. I think it's a solid way to.
What a great way to celebrate, right?
Yeah, it is a great way to create, to celebrate, to create to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Okay, but yeah, what is that studio experience like? At least working with me. What's feedback and what it was like? I don't know if I'm sure you have your own music and you can talk about that too as well. But what's the experience like in the studio and making all of this happen?
Yeah, the studio experience, both studio experiences with you have been so fun, and it really has been mind expanding for me. The first time you sent me an audio clip of your song "All Is Well," I listened to it and it was so beautiful. It's just you and your voice and your guitar, and I thought, you want Mbira with this? This is fine, just as it is. Just let it go. So you said, no, I'm going to the studio and I have a vision. And going into the studio that day, I was so amazed at how much musical vision you had when you were making that song. So that when I was laying down the Mbira track on there, I was not wanting it to cover up or take away from any of the guitar or the vocals, because I thought they were perfect. So, but soon I came to find out that you had other visions in mind. And so I laid down my Mbira part as basic as I could get it. And because I saw the layering that was happening and all of the other vocalists and who was the name of the vocalist? Matilda Pablo.
Yeah.
Amazing vocalist, singer-songwriter. So it was great working with her there. But the vocals that you two put on there, the rhythms the layers of rhythms. So for me, it was just, I laid down my Mbira part and then I just stepped back and watched the creative process happen. And that was a treat for me. And the same thing today. Today, meeting with you there at Weird Music Studio in Columbus, and another amazing vocalist, Jamie Ravine, was another great songwriter. But sharing that creative space with all of you was amazing. So I had again the experience of trying to take this traditional instrument and put it in a format that I'm not used to playing in. Um, Most of my experience with this instrument, the mbira, is my learning has been by learning traditional songs. All of my teachers have taught me traditional songs, within which you can improvise and do variations, but it's all based on the traditional song. So this was a new experience, was taking these tones and these textures that are within this instrument and trying to make them fit with appropriately with your music.
In the groove.
Yeah, in the groove. Yeah, so that was a treat again. It was a treat today.
Have you recorded your own music on your own? And is that something, because it sounds like, because when you came into studio, in fact, when I send all of the music and everything, you you put yourself in the process of actually creating a new tune to work with the song. And like you mentioned, the simpler it was, the more it added to the song itself.
Mm.
So there's always that, and it could be a um, repetitive melody, but at the same time, say it goes to the chorus and it goes to something else, and it really hits the right spot in the record,
Hmm.
and it fills in like this extra layers that the percussion couldn't do that, the vocals couldn't do that, the guitar couldn't do that, but the mbira just sort of, it really hit those spots within the record that I myself, when I'm listening back to it in the car, in the headphones, it's like, my goodness, how
There was a time today where the technician in the studio, Trevor, pointed out our co-creation, where I'm hitting a high line on the mbira, this note right here, and you're hitting a clave
hmm
immediately after it. So without really realizing it, we created the hocketing effect in that song today, which that is something that's very common in the traditional part of the Mbira songs, that many of the songs that I know, that they have usually two people playing the Mbira, and they each play slightly different parts, so that it creates a back and forth kind of echo, which we sometimes call hockening. And so it's like a little back and forth, so that if you were to sit in the middle, your left ear and your right ear would hear the two parts bouncing back and forth. So that's a very magical part of that music.
almost like a polyrhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Many polyrhythms, yes. Yeah.
So to go on to the mbira, are there different types of the mbira, or is there like one specific type? And just to give more context to where the mbira is from, and also usually I also refer it to other people as the kalimba, and then when I say the kalimba, it's like, oh, that's what you're talking about. So maybe give what's the difference between the kalimba and the mbira, and then dive deep into the different types of mbira, maybe the keys too, because you have
Mm-hmm.
quite a couple around here.
Yeah. So I currently have adopted 9 imbiras in my home. So some of them are the same tuning, some of them are slightly different tuning, some of them are very different tuning. But the style of mbira that I play is called mbira huru, which in Shona means great mbira. It's also known as the mbira zavadzimu, which is a great mbira of the ancestors. And the reason that they mention the ancestors in that is that this is a traditional instrument, and it's also used many spiritual practices. The Shona are very much aware of their ancestors, and many times, even in daily life, they look for guidance from their ancestors. You know, a new birth in the family, or someone has died, or you don't know how you're going to feed your family, or you have a question about, the right match for your children, or so there are so many instances where you need guidance, and at least in my understanding, the Shona have much more awareness of their ancestors and consult with them, and they do that many times through ceremony that is inspired by the Mbira. So they have traditional ceremonies that will happen. An Mbira player will come and start off the evening. They will get to the certain point so that the certain questions can be answered to their to the through the spirit medium and to their ancestors. Um, I'm not Shona. I'm not from Zimbabwe, but I've been a student of this instrument for over 20 years now. And I'm still a student, and I probably will always be a student of the instrument. I find that it's an amazing instrument, the beauty of the sounds that it makes, but also it's a window into a whole other type of culture and a whole other way of thinking. And yeah, it's also the music itself challenges my Western assumptions, where I learn a pattern and I'll hear melodies in that pattern, and I think I know where the beat of the the pulse of the song is, but many times I've been corrected, and I find that it's actually somewhere else. So then it's kind of one of those activities where you have to pat your head and rub your tummy,
Oh yeah.
that coordination challenge. So it's like trying to get the hands to do one thing and to get the feeling of the pulse of the song in your body while you're doing that. And then of course once you get that down, then there's singing involved. A lot of times in these ceremonies, there's also drumming, dancing that happens, and clapping, and it's a lot of expression. Yeah.
Everything that comes together. Okay.
Hmm.
Because you mentioned usually it's you can play that with someone else, and someone else has a different rhythm,
Hmm.
and you are playing something completely different, but they're all intermeet in the same, the mix in the same bottle of juice, and
Yes, yes, they do. Yeah, there's one of my favorite songs to play is called Neme Musasa, and there are two parts usually that play together. One's a kind of a leader part, the other part's a follower part. But when you listen to them, they're completely different. Like the beat of them feels different, but they interlock. Um, yeah, I mean, I could try and demonstrate. I don't know if it would come through on here or not.
we can try that. I would say we can try that towards the end. I would say walk me through when the first time you touched, the instrument like this.
Yeah, I mentioned it's probably about 22, 23 years ago. Well, my first introduction to hearing the music was probably when I was visiting Portland, Oregon. And there was a marimba band playing at a dance hall. It was called Boca Marimba, and they were really good. The whole dance hall was packed with people. Everybody was boogieing down like crazy. And then they stopped and took a break. And a couple of the members of the band came out and sat on the edge of the stage and pulled out the mbira. And they started playing them. And I was like, what's this? What's happening? And I came to learn that a lot of the songs that were being played on the marimbas, on the big marimba band, were actually derived or adapted from songs that were traditional songs played on the mbira. So that was where I first heard it. And not long after that, there was a teacher that was coming through Portland, Oregon, that was offering a weekend workshop. There were two teachers, Erica Azim. She's the founder of an organization called mbira.org, based out of California, but they are focused on trying to share the Shona Mbira music, instruments, and they do that through by purchasing the mbiras that are made by native people in Zimbabwe. And also, Erica has spent decades traveling to Zimbabwe, bringing those instruments back to the US, also traveling all around Zimbabwe, and recording some of these traditional Mbira masters and taking those recordings, making CDs, and then selling those, and then sending that money back to those artists in Zimbabwe. So the work that she's done, she's built a huge catalog. It's available at mbira.org. You can look through all of this just educational material on what the instrument means, and then you can go through and listen to. You can look at the recordings. There's sometimes you can listen to some samples of the recordings before you purchase them, and then the instruments themselves are also for sale. And there's a lot of bio information on there about the artists, what kind of area they live in, their history with Mbira, kind of their style. Some of the Mbira players are a little more jazzy than others. So, but Erica Azim has done a great job of pulling all that together. But she was traveling way back when. She was traveling with another Zimbabwean Mbira virtuoso, Forward Kwenda, and they were visiting the U.S. and they came up to Portland, Oregon, where I was at the time, and offered a weekend workshop. So I spent the whole weekend immersing myself, falling down the rabbit hole of the Mbira, and learning some basic songs. But it was a very eye-opening experience to be learning patterns with your fingers. You're only using these fingers, and you're going back and forth and learning these patterns very slowly. It goes over and over again. And I found the combination of learning patterns with the creative aspect of the music seemed like I could almost feel the hemispheres of my brain just bridging to connect. So that's where I started. And it took me years to kind of get those basic songs and the basic format in my hands till I felt comfortable. And then years went by until I actually traveled, or actually moved back to Ohio, where I'm originally from. Moved my family, my wife and my children, back to Ohio so we could be closer to the family here. But I looked around Ohio to see if there was anyone else who played the mbira, and I didn't find a lot of people at first, but eventually I did connect with my friend Jim Lindroth, who's a music graduate from Ohio State, and he plays mbira zawadzimu. So we've been playing around a lot, which is where you actually came and met us for the first time.
Yep.
So yeah, we've had a lot of great connections. And the interesting thing about Columbus too is that there's quite a large Zimbabwean immigrant population here, which I did not realize at first. But through my searching of trying to connect with other people who might play mbira, I discovered other Zimbabweans that had moved here as a part of their professional career. There's an organization, a nonprofit organization called Drill for Life, which is actually headquartered here in the Columbus area. And their main mission is to actually raise money to go to Zimbabwe and drill water wells in rural areas so that the villages don't have to walk 2, 3, 4, 5 miles just to get water. So the work that they're doing is amazing. It's a really well-run organization. They do fundraisers in the Columbus area all the time. They've got a 5K run coming up, Masa, if you're a runner.
No comment.
What? So yeah, they're doing some great work. But Drill for Life is amazing. But through that connection, I've been to their events. I bring my mbira out to their benefit fundraisers. We also have a marimba band. So we drag our marimbas out there and set them up and allow people to come and play. And it's a really good time. But I've actually met a lot of Zimbabweans in the Columbus area, more than I met when I was living in Oregon. So that that aspect of it, that like actual connection with actual Zimbabweans and talking to them about their life here and then their memories of growing up in Zimbabwe and playing marimba and hearing this Mbira music, that's just fueled me to go deeper into this music. So I feel like there's so much yet to explore. So my main goal is to try and bring more teachers to Ohio so that we can learn from them. Trying to get more people who are here in Ohio interested in this music and maybe inspire someone who might want to actually learn how to play. So my secret goal is so that I will have more people to play with.
You do the events that you do with Drill for Life. That's usually like you have a set of marimba, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a full marimba set. I think two or three, maybe.
7. Well, we have 10. No, 9. We have 9 now. Yeah. So the full set is usually 7. So there's 3 sopranos, 2 tenor, a baritone, and a bass. And the bass marimba is very big. You have to actually, it's very tall. You actually have to stand up on a stool to play it.
How would you explain marimba to someone who has never heard of marimba before?
Yeah. So if you've heard of a xylophone,
Okay.
I mean, xylophone is kind of the same as a marimba. Xylo, I think, is Greek for wood. So whereas marimba, I think, it's a wooden instrument that has several keys, wooden keys that you hit with a mallet. So it looks kind of like I guess a glockenspiel. It's kind of like the German name for that. But usually depending on which marimba, there are between 10 to 15, 16 keys on the marimba. And you play them with the mallets. So there's sopranos, tenors, baritone, bass, all have different parts, and they all have a different role to play in each song, in each composition. So ideally, we get enough people together to all learn the parts and then rock the house.
So usually, that's cool. Usually, I would say that the marimba or the xylophone is like a traditional piano. It's not necessarily, but tradition in the sense that you don't have to connect it to a plug or it doesn't use strings or something. It's just very wood and the things that make the sound underneath.
Yeah. Oh, balafon, I think, is another
The
name.
balafon, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the marimba, I think, was popular in Zimbabwe, maybe the 50s and 60s. It started to become more popular, but it's not originally from Zimbabwe. I think it originated in Western Africa. I'm not totally sure about the history of the marimba, but it definitely caught on, and in a lot of the schools in Zimbabwe now they teach marimba, so it's an easier instrument to learn than the mbira. Mbira takes a little bit more patience, and I think the kids really enjoy just hitting things with mallets, so it's much more popular. So yeah, so but in the 1970s, I believe, one of those teachers from Zimbabwe came to the U.S. and taught at Washington State, and also taught in Oregon. His name was Dumasani Marare. So he brought his passion for the music. He brought the marimba. He brought a different type of mbira, which he played, which is called the nunga nunga. So the nunga nunga is different than this one, and I don't have one of those, but it's maybe looks more like the kalimba that people have seen, where there's keys kind of going up one side and then going up the other side, but there's not as many keys on it. And then sometimes it's built into like a wooden box as a resonator. But he played, he taught at some of the colleges in the U.S. in the 70s, and those students were so enthralled that they went on and created marimba bands, and then eventually they started building their own marimbas and then teaching other students some of the songs they had learned, composing their own songs, and starting a festival. And so now when you go to the West Coast, you can actually find marimba bands from California up to Vancouver, British Columbia, even inland. But they also have that festival is continuing. It's called ZimFest, Zimbabwean Music Festival. And it's a thriving subculture for enthusiasts that love Zimbabwean music. And they bring Zimbabweans over every time the festival happens. They bring them over to teach workshops and perform at the evening concerts. So it's a thriving subculture
Yeah.
that's happening out there.
Have you been to Zimbabwe yourself?
I did, yeah. I've been once. Went last year for 2 weeks specifically for an Mbira workshop to learn from. I think we had 5, 6 different Mbira masters come and teach us. So it was great.
Was it
amazing.
under the mbira.org, or was it something what organization?
Yes, actually, yeah, it was actually organized through Erica Azim and her organization, mbira.org. And, we all met up at Kufunda village, just outside of Harare. And, and then we stayed there for a while different teachers came to visit us every day. We would sit with them all around a picnic table outside and kind of watch their fingers and slowly learn the patterns. And they were so patient with us. And then in the afternoon, we would learn a little bit more of that song, or maybe we would learn some singing parts that go with that song. And then one of the most magical parts was in the evening. We would just sit one-on-one with that teacher. We'd all take turns to come and sit and play some other song that we knew and just jam, just to get that experience of what it was like to actually play with somebody who was so just naturally good with the mbira. So yeah, it was a great trip. It was really eye-opening for me. It just took me deeper into the passion for the music.
Do you have to learn specific skills or specific what like how would you explain to someone who is a lot more interested in the theory aspect of it? I know for the mbira you talked about the different tones, the soprano, those different aspects of it. But what about mbira? I know you've mentioned there's certain keys for certain instruments. What theory aspect of it is something that if someone wants to learn it and develops the interest in it, like what should they be looking for in terms of really developing the skill on mbira, and what does it take to get to say like where you've gotten to right now with the instrument?
Yeah. For someone who wants to learn, and I think we're talking about Westerners, right?
Yeah. Ish.
Yeah, yeah. So for someone who wants to learn, I would say that choose an mbira key that is common. And I have to say that first because there are many different keys out there. And if you go to Zimbabwe and you travel from one village to the next, they will have their own tuning. I mean, the intervals of the keys may be the same, but the starting point may be different. So it wasn't really until a lot of the Westerners started showing interest in the instrument, possibly even through mbira.org and raising the more awareness for the instrument, that they started to standardize the tunings. And it actually probably happened before that. Maybe in some of the schools in Zimbabwe, they started standardizing the tuning. So I don't know a lot of that history, but I know in the West here, we have certain standard tunings that we always refer to. So yeah, like the one that you and I were playing today, you capoed up to 3rd fret, and you have a drop. Is that a drop D tuning?
So yeah, usually there's a special sauce here.
So when I'm playing along with you, this is actually a B. This is what's considered a B Nia Maropa tuning.
that's simply just by if I drop it back down to E, then I take it up.
Yeah, actually, this is a B flat mbira. So normally the workshops, like the learning tuning is in B. A lot of the workshops that Erica Azim will teach, they have that standard learning tuning, which was, I think, a tuning that has been used for several decades now, so that when people come together to try and learn, or if they're practicing and they want somebody to play with, they know that they've got the same tuning in Mbira. So as a student, if you're starting to learn, I'd say choose a B tuning in Mbira if many of the people around you or your teacher is also going to teach in that same tuning. So, but there are B flats like this one. I chose this one because of, because you were tuned to that. This seemed to work with that the best. But I also have one that's considered a G tuning. And so those are all what's considered Nia Maropa. And there are other types of mbiras that have slightly different intervals between the notes. So those are different tunings. There's one that's called Gandanga tuning, and that sounds completely different. You can play the patterns on this one and then go play the same pattern on the Gandanga tuning mbira. It's the same song, but it sounds completely different. And then there's a very low mbira tuning that's made by Frederick Majuru called the Dambatsoko tuning. It's so deep and low that it sounds so great. So, but those are, I think those are tunings that you can branch out into after you get hooked by the instrument. But to start with, I'd say go with the B Nia Maropa tuning.
Okay. When I mentioned to a friend I was going to speak to a Mbira player, first they didn't know what I was talking about. And then I mentioned kalimba. And we Googled and I was like, oh, kalimba. And she mentioned that they had like a workshop when they were kids or something and they were young. And they actually made an instrument, like a maker instrument workshop kind of a thing with I've forgotten what she said she used, but they had like some plugs and they made a kalimba. And she was reminiscing about that. She was like, oh yeah, she remembers making that instrument and everything. So it's very interesting why I'm kind of, putting that side by side as a kalimba and mbira. Here in the West, it would be more of a kalimba. Is there a huge difference? I mean, there is a difference, but what would you say to that difference? And especially say what is being used, the ion which is being used, what's the difference between those two? And how would you bring someone who maybe has an idea of what that looks like into what this actually is?
So I think I can answer by first of all talking about like the materials. So yeah, it's a wooden board. It's a very dense hardwood, and the keys. They many times when people come up and they look at this and they say, "Oh, it looks like spoons, like spoon handles," and they do. Especially some of these, like not so much this one, but the other mbira that I have actually has a ridge down the center, so it actually does look like a spoon handle. But if you look at it flat on, they're all just metal rods that have been flattened out and then cut to various lengths, and then to help with the tuning. So the metal is, the Zimbabweans will use back in the day. They didn't have access to a lot of like materials, so they would use whatever metal they could find, and I've even heard of them like cutting metal out of old shopping carts, and hammering those out, like cold forging them. So nowadays, a lot of the Mbira makers, the Mbiras have the quality has been just getting better and better, and the tone has been increasing. Yeah, the quality is amazing. So um, my understanding also about the kalimba is kind of limited, but I think the kalimba came from a Western researcher that was named Hugh Tracy, and he went to Zimbabwe, went to Africa, and actually studied a lot of the historical the instruments, the traditional instruments there. Um, and was trying to record and preserve a lot of that music that was disappearing. So and so he actually started creating a museum back in the U.S. to try and like help raise the awareness of the culture and the music and the instruments. But he developed a simplified version of the mbira, which I think is what the kalimba, where the kalimba comes from, is that simplification. And he developed like a whole kind of teaching method, and he sells the instruments to help fund the museum and the mission that he's trying to do. So I think that's where the Western awareness of kalimba and this kind of music came from, for the most part. I don't have a kalimba. I came about it from learning, on the West Coast. So um, I'm not really familiar with that whole system, but
Do you know where that museum is?
a what?
That museum that he made, the person who made the kalimbas and who started the museum. Do you
Hmm.
know where that museum is located?
Mm. I think it's in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So someone just Google Kalimba Mbira
Hugh Tracy.
Museum.
Look up Hugh Tracy.
Hugh
Yeah,
Tracy.
yeah. I think he's got a whole. Well, he's got like I'm sure a lot of information out there,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you can probably find a lot of the resources online for that.
Okay, cool.
But for the traditional Zimbabwean stuff, the mbira.org is probably a better resource to go to the source, the traditional style. Yeah.
Sounds good. So I like that we got a little bit nerdy with it because that's, someone who has never seen that or who has seen it or has some idea of it but not really understand it. It was really helpful that we went in that direction to kind of explain a little bit more of the instrument and how it all comes together,
Hmm.
and maybe the differences between some similarities. It's like if you have a 6-string guitar and a 12-string guitar, it's all a guitar or a banjo,
Hmm.
and you have these different variations, or like a standing bass, which the bass is different from the guitar, but you have some of these instruments which are similar but different, but they all have their own history and how it all comes together and how it makes sense,
Hmm.
in the real world experience. So to kind of go back to the holistic outside of the instrument and bringing the experience to people, we have worked together. So my organization, Trust Drum Circles, um, we've worked together with putting up events, and we recently did an event at the Heritage of Hudson.
Hmm.
And you got to have a little Mbira intro. What did that feel like, both working with my drum circles and coming into a setting where you don't know what you're expecting with the participants,
Hmm.
and trying to use rhythm towards oneness and bringing the Mbira into that aspect of it, and how did you see it fit with, say, like, as we started the discussion and you had the questions rolling in
Hmm.
and you had people wanting to try it in Mbira, like what does it sound like, how does it play, and maybe pluck at it. What is that for you, giving that experience to someone else
Hmm.
and a group of people, towards a more wellness, mindful experience.
Yeah, I that day was really interesting, and it was at an assisted living facility. People of various levels of mobility, of different levels of communication, various backgrounds, various experiences, life experiences. So joining you in that room that day, um, and seeing the looks on their faces when you brought in all of your drums, and there were drums and shakers and everything all over the floor, and you you were facilitating to try to get them involved. But I saw that there was this circle that had been formed, and um, and so that inspired me to play one of the songs on the Mbira that I mentioned already, called Nemembusasa, which means, it's a very traditional. It's one of the oldest Mbira songs that um, that I know, and it basically means, gathering sticks to build a temporary shelter. That's what it literally means. But the Shona people are very poetic, and so the song is also can be symbolic for many things. We are always building temporary shelters, right? Wherever we go, a temporary shelter could be, a wedding. You know, you're a wedding, you're a new family, so you begin to build your temporary shelter. But in that day, we had all come together in this circle, and we were kind of building this little temporary shelter of a musical experience. So that's what inspired me that day to play. And after I was done playing, the people who seemed to be like, kind of standoffish about getting involved in this activity, I saw them open up, and they wanted to like see what this music and the sound were like. What is that thing? So yeah, so then I shared and passed it around and let them play it. So I love that. I love when we are pulled out of um, our rut or our just normal, or pulled out of our like hesitation, or to try and experience more, or to connect with an instrument, or connect with people. I think they're one and the same. When you open up like that, you all of a sudden are more aware of your surroundings. You're listening to what's happening over here. You're listening over here. You're maybe getting some eye contact with somebody else,
Hmm.
and you're sharing in this joint experience. So, and that's really why, I love what Trust Drum Circles has been doing. And I love how you're able to bring in this and facilitate this activity, that it opens up so many possibilities for people.
Yeah, well, I mean, something that we try to really prioritize is using rhythm towards wellness, meaning, if you listen to a song and, you tap in your feet and you maybe getting sugar, or you're driving and, this, you're bopping your head. There's all these little things that can bring both movement and just a certain level of mindfulness into your body, that I so appreciate music uh, in such a very respected way, to be able to do that. So I myself, it's an honor to be able to facilitate some of these drum circles and bring that experience to people of all abilities, all ages, you name it. Anyone that can tap the leg or play a drum or shake, or anything, or dance, it's really joyful, and you get to see people blossom out a little bit. There's like, it's like a flower. It's just, oh, and if something started and they were a little bit shy, and then, midpoint, there's a little flower, and then, by the end, everyone is like excited and dancing and
Yeah.
wanting more. So it's definitely been a very fulfilling experience this whole year, being able to have more events and be able to facilitate more drum circles
Hmm.
throughout, all over Ohio and all, some places in the US, all the way to Minnesota.
Wow.
So it's something very fulfilling that I'm grateful for. And I'm also liking the direction. I'm loving the direction that I'm able to bring in someone like you with the bira. It's a different instrument, but there's all these aspects of the rhythm
Mm.
on there where it connects so well with the drum, and we've played together,
Mhm.
and then it feels like you're just amplifying that with more melody, more.
Yeah, it's one of the um I usually call it a musical puzzle because for me, like I find my Western assumptions of where the beat is get challenged a lot. But then once I understand it and I feel it in my body, it brings a whole nother level uh, of pulse to the song, of swing to what you're playing, and it just opens things up so much more than playing the standard 4/4 kind of pattern that we're taught. And there's a reason that we're taught it that way at first, because there's we're doing something we've never done before, learning patterns on this thing. So breaking it down in a simplistic form just to get it in your hands, and then once it's in your hands and you don't have to look at it anymore, you've got it memorized, then you throw in the other levels, the beat, the singing,
And the
the
dancing.
variations, the highland variations, and the music is very circular. So it comes around, and it can go on all night long.
We also did another event this summer with a foster care organization called Alicia's Closet. You can remember that.
Yeah,
Somewhere in I've forgotten the location. We did at a church.
Hilliard, I think.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, Hilliard, Ohio.
Hmm.
And it's different, two different populations, right? So maybe I want you to get into that a little. I want you to get into that a little bit because at the nursing facility, total different population compared to foster care organization that was more focused on youth, the kids and the younger ones. What was that experience like for you? And also you brought a hosho.
Yes, yeah, the Hosho shaker. Yeah, that's fun. That's another fun instrument. That's usually played with the mbira. Um, yeah, that experience. So it was a school, or I think it was a homeschooling
A church.
church. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So children of various ages were there, and you had brought the drums and arranged them in a
Everything.
circle. Everything you had was out. I think you had to bring a truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so
I had
yeah,
I had my parents with me.
yes, yeah, they were
So
visiting,
they were visiting from Cameroon. I had
right?
my parents with me. And I also had some family members too that drove all the way from Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, that was
So
yeah. I met them.
it was quite a beautiful experience for me because,
Mhm.
I could rent a truck and then all of the drums go in the back and then there was more room in the car.
Oh
It's
yeah,
feeling very nice about that.
wow.
But yes, go on.
No, yeah, it's interesting, like uh, what you said, how kind of two different opposite extremes of life, really. The nursing home in Hudson, the assisted living center, they were hesitant, you know, about trying something new. But I saw that same thing with some of the kids. I mean, kids are curious by nature, so many of them were running in and grabbing the drums, right away, um, and they didn't hold back. But some of them were shy about it too. So it did take it. It took a little bit of reading the room, uh, or actually reading each individual kid, because everyone's coming from different backgrounds. Everybody's feeling different, every day. One day you could be feeling just not into it. Um, so I think having so many different types of instruments there, and having several people, adults helping to, facilitate was really helpful for that event, especially with the kids at the church. Yeah, because there were many different ages.
Yeah,
um,
so usually when we do events with a lot more kids, then we bring in like an additional facilitator. So it
mhm,
really worked out perfectly that, I was able to get you involved. I was also able to get Luke Davenport
mhm, yeah,
um, involved too as well.
mhm,
And then my parents too were there. So, we grew up drumming and dancing. So it was pretty much, no, no training involved for that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
And then plus some of my family members too that were able to join in the rhythm and everything. But something, that just to go back to the question between the difference between like an assisted living and a youth event where there's a huge change in energy
mhm,
and excitement. And that's not to say that there was no excitement in the nursing home. There is,
mhm,
but the pace is different. And it's something that, you can't just go in guns blazing and, you know, but
mhm,
when you walked in, there was really some sort of rhythm going. Remember how you brought back the mirror into the room and everyone was like there was this interest like what are these guys up to, and then you showed the mirror and you kind of engaged them in it and then started to see more of that opening, and then we also did a call and response in the room with the cowbell, and that also just opened up everyone like, oh, it got them kind of thinking, okay, da 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 da. So it got them, on the instrument. It got them. So that's the caller response really got them like, oh, I can listen, I can play, I can listen, I can play. And those were some of the activities that just kind of brought everyone together in the room.
mhm.
Again, using that rhythm and bringing everyone together. Those were some of those things that shifted the pace of how we're facilitating. And then obviously for the youth event, it was more like energy, energy, energy.
Mhm.
Dance, move, shake it, you know, get the jump in, like everything.
I remember at one point at the youth event, you led them in an activity, a rhythm activity as well, um, and got them listening so that they knew that it was time to stop playing. And it actually worked. I remember it was like, oh, they all stopped at the same time. So that's a win, right?
Yeah, that
When that
is
happens.
that is the win.
Yeah.
Usually I would do like the 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, boom, 3, 2, 1, boom. So there's this, the boom is exciting. Oh, 3, 2, yeah, creating that excitement behind that, and then you have the rumble. So you can rumble, and then everyone's 3, 2, 1, boom. And
Yeah.
there's that sort of tension and then release,
Yeah.
tension and release to it, which I think everyone quite enjoys that, and then it just feels like everyone is in the room together
Hmm.
when you do things like that. It's like, oh, we're making music together. That's cool.
That's so important. For me, that's in my life, I've been having some realizations lately that that is one of the most important things that I feel we can do. It helps us connect and communicate with each other. It helps us feel community, and it's through music, which is expressive. So there's opportunity to express your individuality, but as a part of a group, and I think it's just magical. Um, I think it goes along with like Mbira gatherings. There's a community of music that's happening with that, with the drum circle. Um, other types of music as well. You can be in a jazz band. So, but I think there's something there that I think is really important, especially nowadays, for us to connect and listen to each other. So I think that's what keeps me interested in this and interested in working with you and the work that Trust Drum Circles is doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fun, and I feel like we've developed quite a great team for the organization, and the board too as well involved and everything. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting to see something start from just like a small one-time event to now, being able to do a couple events here and there and meet new people, meet new faces, shake hands, and just going outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just going outside. Lots of driving.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Masa, you are, I've said it before, but you are everywhere. I don't know how you do it. I just like, I look at like the Trust Drum Circles feed and your own feed and Instagram. I mean, you're like, you're teaching here, you're leading a drum circle there, you're, recording you just know so many people. It's really cool. It's inspiring.
yeah. Well, one of the main things that I coming out of college, because in college you have like the college bubble.
Mm.
There's a community in college, so
Hmm.
you have friends there, here and there. But definitely coming out of college, it's completely different because now you're on your own and you're on your own. And so what I noticed very quickly with the drum circus and with meeting people was that relationships and developing relationships was very, very instrumental. Like the whole of last year, all of my drum circles that I did were because of people who I knew that knew someone, or because of people who I knew
Mm.
and wanted it. So it felt very what's the word? It felt very acknowledging. It felt very approval.
Mm.
Like this is true. Like developing relationships is a good, it's a right thing to do, and it's a responsible thing to do, because you wouldn't have opportunities if you don't create and develop relationships. So that's kind of the mindset that I saw going out of college. Like, if I don't create relationships, then I would not have opportunities. So that's kind of what got me a little bit more open to meeting new people, to having conversations, to trying out new things, and trying out new experiences and learning. Like, started learning farming and got into
Mm.
livestock farming,
Mm.
raising goats and chickens, and
Uh,
developing a relationship around that. And that's kind of what took me to where I am now in Northeast Ohio. So it's like some of these things that you know it takes you somewhere. For example, like the Mbira instrument, for if it works in the story, but it takes you somewhere. And look, now we've met together and we're making music together. So it's one of those things that it's like it carries you from one place to the other in a very positive light. And I kind of saw that. In fact, I saw that coming out of college, especially after doing like a yoga teacher training.
mm.
And I mean, the training was the yoga teacher training, but the training was more so the development of relationships around the yoga itself. So building a community. And that was something which I was like, there's no way I can let that go
Mm.
in terms of approaching life. Like, it has to be based on like community development or community oriented. So I was like, at that point, finishing my MBA, I was already with my mind like, I have to create relationships in order to grow and find opportunities to connect and serve and provide and all of these things that just made more sense to me. It felt easy, it felt effortless to do so. It wasn't like there was friction, because sometimes you're trying to do something and it just feels like Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, there's the fear of failure too, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
oh man,
I don't want to let someone down.
right. So maybe I just shouldn't try it. There's
So
some courage involved in that, but once you push through that, I think it's just there's a lot of positivity that comes out of the kind of work and the service that you're providing.
yeah, which fit very perfectly with Trust Drum Circles. So
Hmm.
that's what makes me excited, and also being an accountant provides me that structure and the discipline
Mm.
to it's very things have to be in order, numbers have to be in order.
Mm.
So that keeps the pace for me, and then the music is very creative. Now being able to use that towards more wellness, more mindfulness, and being able to share that experience with many people. It's cool. It's awesome. It is
Yeah,
very
it
awesome.
is awesome.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do I take it from here? Well,
Well, um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot we could discuss, but maybe we should play some more music.
okay. More music it is.